horse drifted alarmingly in the betting, was, fancied in the morning, continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Buttons.
The ground is soft.
It's heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
A very warm welcome to the Sunday sermon. Just two bar stewards for you today. Myself, Lee Keys, and Jonas Leng. Chris, unfortunately, couldn't make today's show, but he'll be back next week. So there's just two of us chewing the fat. Are you well, John, after yesterday?
I'm in the fucking pink, mate, after we had a road land. When I say I'm in the pink, I'm on a tin of Pink Monster this morning. So get the blood pumping a bit. Yeah. Monster's better than Red Bull. I think so. It tastes nicer. I had a bit of bad news last night, actually. A mate phoned me up, he'd been to Cheltenham. He said, fucking hell, I've done 2.5 bags in today. I said, Jesus Christ, what did you get back? He said, I never had a better a cheese roll than 2 pints of Guinness.
Which, of course, we will come on to later in the show. Obviously, a big talking point was the Walls Ices at Cheltenham yesterday. If you haven't already switched on to that, we'll be discussing that at length. But for now, I think we'll go through yesterday's action, where, as bar stewards, we managed a grand tally of 0 from 16. I don't think that told the story, though, John, did it, with some of the bets? I think some of the bets were very good ones. Hitting the crossbar. Richmond hit the crossbar twice, and he was Burnsed. Myself second in the Horrid Hill. Yourself second with the Claxon bet. Fry was second with Effenock Fizz. Desperate. Obviously, miles clear with the Mullins horse. And poor Jack got mullered with Hiawatha. What a good bet that was. He put that out at 6-1. Went off a well bet fav, and basically, fortunately for him, got sandwiched, which again we'll come on to in the review. So I don't think it was as bad as what probably looks, but it is what it is. We should have had the turquoise carriage driver on, because he tipped up the winner of the first at Doncaster in Totally Charming. So maybe that would have just stopped us having a blowout. So Davis, we should have had you on. On to the review then, and we're going to start with Donny. Why not? I will go to the Marston Stakes, the listed race. Legend of Xanadu turning over the O'Brien hot pot. Obviously, it's the 60s icon angle, the soft ground angle. I didn't actually believe it would be good enough, even despite the ground, to turn over an 111 rated Coolmore horse, John.
Well, I didn't think it'd be good enough. I mean, to be honest with you, that was one of the ones where I was pretty confident that my selection would improve past. As it turned out, mine's run to about 50, 55 in the race, run a deplorable race. Mind you, having said that, I didn't think Sam James was brilliant. He tried to make ground up after dwelling at the start, and he should have just sat tight really and let the horse finish the race off. I'm not saying it could have been a lot nearer, but it'd have been a lot better for the future for the horse.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you get that when you have a smaller stable with a slightly less experienced big race jockey up. You can sometimes spanner things up for the future. I hope that hasn't been detrimental to the horse, because I still think she'll make up into a decent sort of 3-year-old.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was a good out of the box sort of pick from yourself. It's just one of them things, and I think many horses yesterday just didn't run the races. I mean, if we go to the futurity, the big Group 1, this is where I did my bollocks. Basically, because in running, I was laying the arse off the stand side runners. I couldn't believe the decision to go stand side, and yet, obviously, it played out stand side. Not one other race all day played out stand side. That's how it was. It was that kind of day where you had to be drawn low to middle. So I was absolutely shocked. O'Brien had apparently walked the course twice, John. What do you make of it?
I think Salt Lake City was part of the plan, actually. I think that's dragged them near side horses to clocking a decent. I mean, I think Salt Lake City's run a blind bit of capons for fifth, to be honest.
They've used him up, haven't they? They use him as. Do you think that should be declared? Because I mean, there'll be punters that's back. There's punters that back Salt Lake City. You've basically done it in.
I think the trouble is with Aiden, when he's got multiple entries, there's always a chance that might happen. And I think you should probably factor that into your bets, really. As regards declaring it, if for any reason Mr. Break and Wayne have decided to sit tight, I doubt he'd have got a bollocking off the gaffer. But if they'd had to make public riding instructions, there'd have been all hell to pay, wouldn't they? You know, I think they can probably afford to be flexible when it comes to riding instructions. You know, and they might have said to him, make it if you can, drag them along at a good pace, blah, 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 bag the rail. But of course, if he misses the kick, that's all out the window. But they'd understand that, whereas punters in general, maybe getting word of that before the race wouldn't be so understanding, you know?
Well, that's it. I mean, I'll be honest, I did have a little pre-play waggle at Salt Lake City, and I take it on the chin, but I can understand some. They'll be out there definitely like saying that's just not cricket, is it? Because you know I backed that thinking it's going to run on its merits when it was clearly there to give the fav a tour. I don't know. I think if it had been hundreds or 66s, and people said, well, what does that make a difference? It does, because there's more people that's going to back Salt Lake City yesterday than will 100 to 1 shot. So it's
Sure, yeah.
You know, it's. I just think if it's a fancied runner, and it was fancied, I don't know. I'm not sure how I sit with that. Listeners, what do you think to that? Should pacemakers be declared, as in that they're going to, you know, or at least the trainer say, well, we're going to make the running with Salt Lake, or we're going to go forwards. But then if you're declaring your tactics to others, it's kind of you don't do that, do you? So it's
Well, again, when it's Aiden, it's the age-old conundrum, isn't it? Everybody else only has one runner.
Yeah.
Do you waste yours taking out the pacemaker, or do you, along with everybody else, ignore it? And then it's probably good enough to make all with the soft lead anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah, that is a very good point, and that has happened before, as we well know. So, yeah, you're right. And the derby, you for years have been saying Aiden's ruining it by running sort of half a dozen in it, because, like you said, two a front runner, two sat handy, two mid pack, and one held up last. Yeah. So literally, whatever race shape,
he's got all bases covered, whereas everybody else has one runner.
Yeah,
one hit at it. You know,
yeah.
So the pacemaker goes too fast, and your third favourite chases the pacemaker. He's arsehole. A la Cracksman, really. I mean, Cracksman's derby. That one got nutted late, didn't he? By late closes. You know, and then the other year we had the pacemakers ignored, and Serpentine went.
I was just going to say Serpentine. That's in Australia now, just running to about 90.
Yeah, often.
yeah, a Gelded Derby winner. Yeah, incredible. But yeah, anyway, with regards to the race, I'm sure listeners will be interested to think what do we think of the winner. I'm not buying into the hype of the race at all. The third horse, Zigzag. I mean, I got it completely wrong, by the way. I said on Friday's show that Holloway Boy, why have they put the visor on? I think we can see why they have. You know, that obviously zigzagged towards the stand side. Do you think that's the horse?
But I mean, he hasn't done anything like that without the visor on, has he?
No, that's true. That's exactly that. Yeah. Why he's done that? Unless he's seen the other horse and wanted to go and challenge him. You know, like horses do. Sometimes they do. The horses said, "Well, that's in front of me, so I need to go and." I don't know. Easy.
I think I'd have a score on the visor being off next time.
Yeah, it might be interesting. I'm not. I think I read some comments about the horse being a Guineas horse. I don't think this is a Guineas horse. Do you? What's he? It's won a Leopardstown Group 2 on soft ground, and it's won the Futurity on heavy over a mile. The Guineas will probably more than likely be good to firm. I don't see this having the required speed to win over a mile. So I'm not convinced at all for the Guineas. So Derby Horse possibly, but I don't know. I'm not buying into the race really. I'm not. The time wasn't immense either, which is I'd have expected a quicker time. How many have run the race here, John? I mean, that's the other thing. How many would have possibly run miles below form?
It's always a mess, isn't it, when they split like that, and you don't know whether the ground was better far side or worse. So it's hard to say put a line through the race, but I don't think I'll be treating the form as concrete.
No, if the time was quick, then it's evidence to say, right, we need to respect this. But the time wasn't quick at all. Which to say Salt Lake City went a fair pace, I'm a bit sus. Especially like I said, with no other race going towards the stands rail, everything won sort of like middle to low. So what O'Brien walked the course twice and made the judgment the ground made no difference. So maybe what I don't know. It's a quandary. Difficult one to read. Very difficult. Speaking of riding tactics, etc., we go to Leopardstown, Hiawatha in the Airfield Stakes, the 420, the eventual second, shorthead second. What did you make of that?
He was certainly heavily backed, wasn't he?
Did you? I mean, round the bend. I mean, so what happened was Hiawatha was in a nice position.
He was always going like the winner race early on.
And then literally, I don't know. I question the other O'Brien jockeys though, because basically, I mean, Gulf of Mexico was going nowhere at the time, absolutely nowhere. As I said, he got absolutely sandwiched between the two other Coolmore runners. I mean, surely if you Billy, I don't know what went off in the race, but if you're Billy Lee, you're screaming, say Emmett McNamara or Shamie Effin, you're screaming at them saying, "Get out of fucking way!" Let me, just.
It's a bit bizarre, isn't it? When you run as well as the six.
And again,
it cool. By two stablemates.
Yeah, I mean. It's exactly. So they've got three runners in the race, and Hiawatha would have definitely won, but for the hampering. So again, I sometimes question why run three in it, John.
He's got to get him out. I mean, once at a certain level, he'll never, even if they haven't won, he'll never drop them back to the maiden company. Once they're up there at about listed level, he seems to plough on with them regardless, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he's got to run them somewhere. He's got that many of the bloody things.
Yeah, so if you back Hiawatha, I feel your pain. I did, of course. And, it's how it goes. Tipped up by Jack Veach on Friday. And, disappointing that we couldn't get the winner. Right, moving codes. Oh, no, before we move codes, St. Cloud yesterday. Did you get a look at the Group 1s over there?
I watched the Kills have his winner.
It's interesting. That's the only. I didn't watch the Group 1 before the Criterion, but the Criterion de St. Cloud, the 10 furlong race for 2-year-old colts and fillies, won by Dubai Mile. Mixed feelings really, because what a tough game horse it is.
It's a tough game horse, but I don't know what the form's worth, to be honest.
No, it's a difficult one to read. Again.
I think we can assume this will head to the Dempsey.
I mean, the ground was absolutely soup-like. We're talking proper soup. It was 16 and a half seconds slower than standard. That's like Gowran Park, in sort of December.
Did he win this with Gear Up?
I think he did. Yeah, I think he did. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's a race. Dubai Mile's a tough horse, but. And I suppose it boosts the Royal Lodge, second to the Foxes, flying on his beat.
Going into this lay, I was struggling to make this more than 100, to be honest.
I know what you mean, and I do know what you mean. It's you look on past form. It is a struggle because we know the doubts of the Royal Lodge form because they went steady, but maybe. Dubai Mile has improved for the slog. It's that's probably it. I think it's thrived on the absolute slog. So look, it's a nice staying prospect for next year. But you know what the kilt will do? He'll run it in all the wrong races, and it'll obviously it's going to be aimed for the Derby. What do you make of the pilot booking for Dubai Mile? Danny Muscat by the Arabona. What do you make of that? He's not using the kilts jockeys.
Step in the right direction now.
Well, I mean, so he's not having any of what. I just find that interesting that he said, I want to. But then why would you have it trained by Johnston?
I know.
If you want to use Muscat and he's like, I don't know if he's retained by this owner. I ain't got a clue, to be honest. I've not looked into it, but why would you'd surely have it trained by a trainer that's probably, I don't know, just an odd decision. I mean, you've got an set to your trainer. I don't want any of your jockeys. Which, like you say, it makes sense, but in terms of choice,
it's like saying you want the Sergeant Wilson and saying I don't want Jamie Spencer anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Right, switch of codes then.
Oh, fucking hell.
To Cheltenham, and what I found interesting with the meeting was it was like, if you forget last year's festival where the Irish didn't do as well as predicted, it sent back to former glories. They had the last 5 winners on the Saturday. So is it? I mean, we've talked about carrots on this show, haven't we? We've said it's obvious that carrots are being used. And I'm not going to single out just the Irish, because we know whoever it is, certain carrots are being used. But in general, when Mick Winters had his winner in the big handicap a couple of years ago, it could have done 6 laps. And I got the feeling, like when I looked at Dad's lad, Willie's, I got the feeling that could have done another 6 mile at that pace. I mean, couldn't pull it up.
You looked at that and you think, for all the world, it wants another 12 mile, do we say?
Well, I mean, or is it? I mean, because we do have a lot of Irish listeners, and obviously I've been pillared for just saying it's all about juice and carrots. Is it just the fact as well they've just got better jumping stock? I think there is an element of that as well in there.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, that's where the focus is, isn't it? Now, I mean, everybody wants to have a train with Willie or Fat Gordon, or it's not. It's no longer de rigueur to head for dictate, is it?
No, I mean, Nichols had the first winner, but I mean, is it? I mean, are our trainers not targeting like this meeting enough as well? I mean, it's just interesting because, like, obviously 6 runners in the first, or is it just the fact that obviously they thought the ground would be rattling quick and didn't want to enter or whatever? But I do think our trainers sometimes just tend to avoid. They'd rather win at some midweek Exeter meeting or some kind of, it's just.
They can win at a midweek Exeter meeting, but they don't think they can go close, eh?
Well, that's it. I mean, if we go to the 3:15 race, which was the 8/8 Sport handicap chase over 2 miles, Dad's lad outpointing the Fry Tip Effenock Fizz with Editor De Geet back in 3rd. There was a talking point in this as well. Obviously, the huge drift on Editor De Geet, which the SP doesn't really explain it. It was 6-1, but it was like you could lay about 9.2, 9.4 on the off. Again, they changed riding tactics, and this is a talking point. So someone's known this and utilised that information that Editor De Geek's not going to be ridden forwards. Obviously, he's normally a front runner, and there was a lot of pace in the race forecast. So I get that, and his connection's right to change riding tactics if they so wish.
In situations like that, you'd expect the stewards to ask a question, wouldn't you?
Well, I mean, again, we've talked about this. We said about should pacemakers be declared? Should riding tactic changes also be declared at some point during the day? And I'm not, I don't know. it's a very difficult thing to sort of do, because what happens if an horse misses the break on the flat and you said you're going forward? People will probably start lying anyway and say, oh, we're going forward today. And then...
I think if you're going to do it, you'd have to do it unbeknownst to the public. And by unbeknownst to the public, I mean your tactics go into the stewards half an hour before the race.
Yeah.
In a sealed envelope.
That's not bad. I like that. Yeah, because I mean, end of the day, right? You if you pay your training bills, it's your prerogative. You own the horse. The owners, right, have probably mapped out a plan for the season for editor to get certain races that they think that's the race for us. And maybe they looked at the pace of the race in this and thought, well, if we don't want to blow his brains out in this, and they change. But where I've got issues is clearly someone's utilising that information. You could call it insider trading, can't you? Because you can say, well, I know for a fact this horse isn't going to lead. But then is that just an owner's privilege or a connections privilege? I don't know. It's a debate. Normal punters will feel a bit robbed if they back editor De Geet, because they'll think, well, he was never going to win from the ride he was given. But I don't know. Maybe that's just after timing because he's got beat. If it had come through fast and late and won, then we wouldn't be saying this. But I don't think there was anything hooky, as in like, oh, they've deliberately not tried to win. I just think someone knew and utilised that on Betfair that horse wasn't going to be ridden forwards. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he had the thick end of 12 stone on his back.
Yeah, I mean...
Maybe it wasn't cherry ripe, then maybe he thought, well, we can do without a hard race from the front here.
Yeah.
It's feasible, what they've done. I know that's not what punters that's backed him expecting him to maybe have a softie in front want to hear, but this is what happens when trainers are working with horse flesh and they're building towards what might be a more important target later on. You know, I think that's it. Like, in terms of punting, you have to factor that into your bets. You literally have to say, right, try and think like they think, and they think, you know, is this really today for this horse? You know, in a long season, they might only have 4 or 5 runs in a national hunt season, and it's like, right, so you've got 4 or 5 stabs. So because it's such a hard sport, as in it takes it out of you, yeah,
they'll be thinking, right, it's this race in particular, not necessarily that one on Saturday. And you have to think like, adapt that, not just think, oh, is the real editor De Geet going to show up to? That's what you have to think. What will they think like? And the Irish basically have laid themselves out for some of these races, going into the Potemps, which poor Andy Richmond was bummed. Strides were down and Charles Burns stuck it right up as shoot first. Never looked like getting beat at any point during the race, did it?
He was conscious of the fact he was checking Charles Burns on, wasn't he, on Friday night? So.
He was. He did say that. I mean, that's credit to him. He literally had the TriCast. He did say he thought the only way he could get beat was Burns, and sadly for him, it proved spot on. Yeah, I mean, if you watch that race, if you haven't made money in running on that race, you need a new job. Literally, I thought 5-2 was incredibly generous all the way around. You could see how well it was. It was always going fantastically well, and at some point you were always going to get a trade out of it, whatever. It was going to be short, very short at some point. I mean, you know, sometimes these don't win; they'll not find as much as you think off the bridle. But the way he went through the race, geez, he just looked a very well handicapped horse and veered a bit on the running. But yeah, Burns has done it again. Just a master trainer at basically getting them right on the day, John.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose we've got to be polite to a degree. No, we don't. No, fuck being polite. No, dirty Charles Burns. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, that's it. It's like something out of a Dick Francis novel, Charles Burns. So my Irish accent sounds like Indian accent. Right, 4:25.
That native of Karachi.
Karachi Indian. for 425 was a 3-runner novice chase. Do you know what? Obviously I was like a lot of people, very touched by what happened to Emery de Bromhead's son in Ireland, and life in the park. Obviously, something wrong with it, John. It was travelling well on the front end and just absolutely emptied out. I was sort of cheering. I really wanted that to win, really, from a financial perspective and a sort of, come on, Emery, let's have a winner at Cheltenham factor. Thoughts on the race? Do you think the other two's just not run any kind of races?
You can't have the other two having run any sort of races, can you? And
no.
What was it, 60 lengths and
45? Like, it was a shame, really, because it could have shaped up into a good race, that. But for some reason, the other two just bombed out. And then obviously the Irish landed the bumper with Encanto Bruno to finish the day off, just to put the seal on things. I think that's a strong bumper, because the second horse I really liked pre-play, because not many horses win at Warwick. You know, given a patient riding bumpers, it's a known fact statistically. Yeah. Honestly, the make-all factor in Warwick bumpers is enormous. It's such a bias. Obviously, a quick track, and you know they don't often go big good paces, so you get that front. And for strong leader to quicken through off a crawl and do what he did at Warwick, I think he's a really good horse. So I think
Ollie's probably gone there thinking, we've got a good one here, and then Mr. McConnell's third string for the fucking festival bumpers suddenly gone and baked him.
Yeah. Old John McConnell, landed jackpot. He's obviously doing well as a trainer, and he's shagging old Amy Crook now. Oh yeah, he's landing jackpot, old John. No, that's not
bonus bar, isn't he?
Not many. Right, that concludes the review from Saturday. Not much else to talk about. I mean, the Horrid Hill, I suppose you could mention. Knight, an impressive winner. I think that might be a nice horse for next year. You liked that on debut night, didn't you, John? Paddock wise.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, not enough to back it yesterday.
No, we're all on the second and we're all sick, but it was that kind of day. So it was a bollocksing kind of day, But I mean, this is the thing. Before we go on to other topics, talk about discipline. It's one of the things many punters fail on, and that's the only reason. There's lots of good judges in the punting fraternity, because a lot of people do the work, do the homework, do the study, but then let themselves down when the old red mist and emotion sinks in, which is one of the main failings of punters. So I just thought I'd sort of like. I'm proud of myself this week, because it's been a really testing week for me. I've had a lot of bad rub of the green, if you like, you know. But I've stayed strong throughout the week. And what I recommend is, if ever you get the red mist, as it is, sort of say for gambling week, good God, we'll get onto that in a minute. But if you ever get the red mist, or you're just pissed off, it's a really good idea. It is break off from it and do anything. Just go for a shit. You know, whatever. Do anything. Just get away from screen for like, even if it's 10, 15 minutes and come back. I can honestly say that's a really good tactic, because it breaks you off from the mental connection with it. If you know what I mean. It does me. This is my tip for discipline. If you can just break off, even if you miss a race that you're sort of interested in, just miss it. Doesn't matter. Just take yourself off. Read something different. Read one of your book, whatever, just for 10 minutes, and come back to your screen, because it's like refreshing the. You know, like you like your blackboard, it's a mess. It's a big fucking mess. There's loads of shit all over it, and it's like rubbing it. It's like wiping it, and then you come back to your desk or your chair. You're back at your screen, and it just feels like you've just reset yourself. Do you kind of get that?
Oh yeah. I've done it many times myself, and not just for 10 minutes. You know, I mean, I've had a couple of rehearsals. I've took myself off for a couple of days.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, I'm not really. What I'm trying to, yeah. It's like, even if it's a walk of the dog, it could be like you say, even have a week off. I just take some time off from it. If you're not, because I always think the red mist, your judgment becomes not as good. The calls aren't as good. If you analyse your plays back during a day, the calls just aren't. You think, well, why have I backed that? Why have I done this? Why have I had?
End up trying to force it as well, and you find you turn a lot of half bets into proper bets.
Yeah, you talk yourself into it. Yeah,
because you're conscious of what you've done and the need to get it back.
Well, that's it. It's the feeling, isn't it? No one likes losing, and no one likes seeing the betting bank dwindle, and then you start to feel under pressure to make a bet that probably isn't there, and I think that's most punters' downfall. And I've suffered it myself in the past, where I've had bad days, where I've staked too much, or I've had more on other things than I've had on my best bet because I'm behind. And then you're not playing well. You're not seeing the game correctly. So with regards to discipline, it's an important factor in your betting. It's just as important as your selection process. So all I've said to punters is my way of doing it is to just reset, is to take yourself away from it. And even if you don't get out your chair or your desk, turn the racing page off and browse something else. Just read something. Just read something about another sport, or just take your brain away from your current thought process. And I find the reset actually works, and it's improved my game, because I reckon in the past, this week, I might have cleaned me out. Honestly, the amount of bad bad beats I've had and stuff like that. In another world, in another year of less experience, I would have been cleaned out. No question, but I've managed to hang in there, and I'm proud of that. That I'm it's like one of them annoying little Jack Russells that won't go away, keeps biting your ankles, and that's what I felt like this week. So when you're having bad weeks, and it's not been a good year for me, I'm not in front. I think that's a really good tip personally. So yeah, you can donate money.
Kenny Rogers once said, "You've got to know when to fold them."
Yes, exactly, and that's right. That it's just as important knowing when you beat, when you're not in that frame of mind, or you're not in form. Form is, like you say, form is temporary, class is permanent. If you've got the right selection process, and you know what you're doing, it doesn't matter in the end. You'll win, but you've just got to hang in there when it's not going your way. So right, I'm going to move on to some topics. And what a week in politics! What a week in racing! There's no wonder there's mental health crises at the moment, because to live in this life, it's surreal, and I just can't believe what I'm reading half the time. So I'm going to come on to safer gambling, as we've just talked about discipline. And whilst the trade paper, Racing Post, has a duty, I suppose, to take part in safer gambling week, if that's what that's the done thing, that's fair enough. But I am absolutely angry at the coverage this week they've given it. They've given it lots and lots of coverage, absolutely full publicity about what Tom Siegel does and everybody else, which some of it would be interesting for people. But where I'm angry, John, is where is all the articles on bookmaker malpractice in the Racing Post? Where they are they are abusing the system to get rid of winners.
Never ever going to say that because of the advertising.
But this is it. This life itself is bent, and if you don't
compromise trade paper, in all fairness,
yeah. But does this prove that life, racing, it's all bent from top to bottom? You've got a situation in politics where potentially a former disgraced prime minister can get back in power through no public mandate, and you've got a situation where it's fine to talk about problem gambling and try and address the issues, but it's not fine to talk about punters getting fleeced by bookmakers that are withholding funds, that are basically treating them like absolute dirt. Like I said, it's a stacked deck, the lot of it.
I think right across the board, we have the worst media ever known to man.
Yeah.
In this country, there's no awkward questions get asked anywhere, really. There's the odd podcast and things. little independent broadcasters and what have you. But in the main, the narrative is very much skewed towards what Big Corp wants, right the way down the line, really. And it seems gambling's the new tobacco.
Yeah, it's a dirty, dirty word.
That's the narrative there. There's nothing challenging the narrative in politics now that neoliberalism is the way to go, so we have no choice at the next general election. It's either neoliberalism 1 or neoliberalism light under Starmer.
Yeah.
Absolutely baffles me is no one anywhere has challenged that narrative with the fact that there's a housing crisis at the minute, and to build social housing costs a government nil as regards taxpayer money, and it shows up as a positive on the balance sheet. It can only do good for the economy, and no one is suggesting it. How can this be in a housing crisis? Well, it keeps those at the top who own property in a position where they can hike rents where they want. But the fact that there isn't a political party out there even suggesting that tells you exactly where we're going. It's absolutely pathetic.
Yeah, it's honestly, I think that's where I'm affected, because I can see all this, that it is bent. It literally is. I mean, we know with the bookmakers last time when they were getting rid of introducing staking restrictions for FOBTs in betting shops. And the bookmakers screamed. They said this will cost jobs, betting shop closures. This will hamper the treasury. They were screaming everything that we've said regarding affordability checks. But they're not screaming about affordability checks. That's enough for me. I just know then that they're in favour of it, and you know they paint a different picture. They say they're not in favour of it. Well, if they're not in favour of it, they'd be screaming the house down. They are too powerful. Denise Coates, right? How many fines has the Stoke slut had from the Gambling Commission?
Exactly.
None. Why? Because she's a private entity that has too much political power and could probably turf the Gambling Commission over in no time. The rest of them are just corporations that are just playing along. But this is the thing for me. It's bent. It's all bent, and that's all we need to know. We're fucked. There's no way out of this. It's literally good punters and punters of the past. We're going to get drawn into, digital currency. We're going to get drawn no cash. Which a lot of old people love cash, and it's a new society now, and we've got to probably embrace change, but it's not for the better. And as I said, the trade paper giving so much sort of mileage to this, it's really, really, really angered me. Anyway, right, we go on to Cheltenham and their pricing, John.
It's a bit dear, isn't it?
I've got to say, even if I did enjoy jump racing as much as I did flat racing, I I know. Trying to be diplomatic. Anyway, but I wouldn't attend Cheltenham at these sort of prices. I just don't see the. I know, like, it's other events. I mean, if you go to a music concert or a theatre even, you're going to be paying sky high prices for food and drink. But I love Cheltenham's defence, actually, because they had a lot of complaints. They were serving Guinnesses in paper cups, etc. But I love Cheltenham's defence. They sort of pinned it on the cost of living crisis and stuff like that. But what I find amusing is they're still the highest price pints in the UK, right? So of any race course. So it's all right saying it's a cost of living crisis, but they're not prepared to lessen their margins, are they? So like they're not thinking, well, we make £2.50 a pint after expenses or whatever. We're not prepared to go down to £2 a pint. We need to make £2.50 a pint. That's the real reason, isn't it?
Totally. Absolutely. I mean, it's just absolutely short-termism at its very best. And once this trade dries up, They're going to be absolutely arsehole.
Well, remember when we spoke to the Irish lads at York at the
Yeah.
EBO meeting, and they were like really like scathing about Cheltenham, and they love Cheltenham. They love coming over to Cheltenham. But I think the tide's going to change because a lot of people have been saying how much they have been turned off by Cheltenham in recent years. And I think it's sad because you've got some real national fanatics that absolutely it's everything for them. But they're even getting turned off by, you know, the price hikes, the way customers get sort of treated. It's too full. You know, you're queuing for a piss. It's not much fun. It's not as.
I think the Irish lads as well. I mean, I think they saw a big difference in coming over to York.
Yeah.
And the fact that when you go in at York, you get the impression that the place to see you, they want you to have a good time, and they're not there to pull your pants down completely.
No. You accept that there's high prices because it's eBay, and I'm not saying Cheltenham shouldn't charge high prices. You've got a captive audience, so I'm not that daft to think that you're gonna make hay. If I was chief,
there comes a point though where you just got to say, "Fuck this."
Well, yeah, pretty much. Same with Ascot, and I'm not just singling out Cheltenham. You know, there's absolutely. We highlighted it on a sermon the other week about Ascot's prices. You know, so you literally you need 200 quid for your admission, your food and drink. That's before a bet. Now that's going some in this day and age. Especially when most punters betting like probably 20 quids, 30 quids, you know, like a good Saturday bet kind of thing. So
this is racing again, isn't it? I mean, on one hand, the safer gambling lobby are telling you can only have 20 quid on, and then you go in the race course and they're saying, well, you need a one on the first round just to break even.
I know. I mean, I can remember in my younger days, you know, like when I used to so much enjoy going racing, and that was your first train of thought that, you know, I'd look at my travel costs. I'd look at like what I'd spend on a tray of chips and a pint, and I'd think, right, can I cover that cost? That was my first thought going racing. That's the attractiveness. You're thinking, you know, what can I cover my costs on today? You know, is there a nice 2 to 5 shop that should be about, you know, 2 to 7, you know, and think, well, we can have a sort of, you know, 100 to win 40 or whatever. But like you say, it's just no fun for anyone. So I don't agree with Cheltenham's defence because, and certainly with regards to plastic use and the reason for paper cups, going on about the green agenda. Oh, the green agenda. How many plastic face masks have we produced in the last 2 years? I mean, come on. I can't have any of this. I can't have any of this rammel. It's all bullshit. You know, the paper they've got a good deal on some paper cups or something, and then just use that excuse. But who wants to drink beer out of a paper cup? For fuck's sake! It's just, I mean, there's more to life. There's more worries in life at the moment than drinking beer out of a paper cup. I get that, but nevertheless, you know, who does? Right, fixture list, John. We had an announcement this week that 170 races were axed from the summer schedule, and we thought, oh, that's good. But it turns out they've just redistributed them to other parts of the year. Not fully, I don't think. Flat racing, the plans are 120 races are to be cut in July and August, and with maximum 6 race cards. I agree with that. That's fantastic. We don't need 8 race cards. 6 race cards are fine. All-weather fixtures allowed to program 8 races. Now that's interesting, isn't it? All-weather fixtures allowed to program 8 races. Do you think ARC might have had anything to do with that? You know, this is what I'm saying. It's all Ben. I know you have to deal with these corporations and factions, but the fact the BHA has no control. This sort of review kind of highlights that. So jump racing, they're cutting 40 to 50 races in July and August, which I'm pleased to see. And they're adding 10 to 15 races to meetings in October and November. I'm not sure what that'll do either, because, you know, as we've seen in past past years, sometimes the ground in October and November is quicker than August.
I can't believe they're talking races, though. I mean, they should be talking fixtures here. I mean,
well,
120 flat races. I mean, what's that, 20 fixtures?
it's equivalent to 20. I mean, that's crept in, hasn't it? Like in the last few years since pandemic
Yeah,
time.
I mean, for a while there, year on year, we were getting 200 fixtures added to the programme.
Yeah.
And this is where we're at now. We've got a completely unsustainable programme. And the tweaking about like this, it's absolute madness. But it just kicks the can further down the road and gets the upper echelons another year nearer to the pensions. And that's what it's all about. Nobody wants to put their arms around this, take ownership of it, and possibly get the odd smack in the teeth as well, because if you did this properly, you would upset people and there'd be ructions. And nobody is prepared to get involved in ructions. And that is the big problem with the way racing is run. You can't, it's a terrible cliche, but you can't make an omelette without breaking eggs. And there's an awful lot of eggs need breaking in racing at the moment. An awful lot.
Very well said. Another measure is allow overseas trained runners to participate in low grade handicaps. This is something that I'm against because as a punter, I'm not speaking for owners and trainers, but I'm speaking for punters in that the old Irish Raider in a Class 6 handicap at Wolverhampton, they're either 5 to 4 or 50s. And that's my point. That why do I want to study a race when are you thinking that this Irish Raider is, what's it here for? Is it here to be, like you say, you don't know who's even training it. It could be like we've had the Jimmy Fox escapade, and that's what people will argue and say, well, that'll stop like the Jimmy Fox gambles and things like. It won't really, because
it stop people betting. Full stop. I mean, you want to bet on those races for starters.
Well, that's it. I go avoid. What I'll do is when I'm doing a card, if I see like a dodgy Irish or the old Irish trainer change to an absolute crap trainer, you just think, well, I can't look for a pre-play investment because
it's a man through the race, isn't it?
Yes, you just have to say no and wait for the shows maybe, because then, like you say, if it's 5 to 2, 9 to 4 from a Racing Post tissue price, I say 12s, this is live. If it's sort of 25s, it's either not off or they're betting it in India. But it's for that reason. The Irish trainers that have moaned about this, they know liquidity on Irish racing on Betfair is absolutely putrid. It's so bad. So they know this. There's stacks more liquidity on Betfair. You get on the shows, get a right few quid on, like late, and I just think that's it really. It's So I'm against it from a punting perspective. It doesn't add anything. You need serious information. You need information from that yard that no one's got, and it's boring. That's why if you try and bet on Irish racing, even if you've got a bookmaker's account that will take bets, your limits will be lesser on Irish racing than it will be for other racing. There's a reason why. So they want 2 stone in hand, them lads. They don't, I know we've got our problem. We've got enough problems. We've got enough owners like that want 2 or 3 stone in hand. So we don't need more of it. We need less of it.
We've got to bring the tracks in line though over all these fixtures.
I think so. I mean the tracks. The thing is, whilst they're getting the media rights, they're not. It's just not going to change. That's the thing.
The trouble is, they're not standing up to the tracks. I mean, they still only race under licence, whether they've got the media rights or not. And if somebody with the backbone stood up to them and said, right, you are racing under licence at the moment, you are not racing on the same day as the Magnet Cup, you can race on the Sunday instead, or whatever, And if you're not, were taking your licence and you were now a flapping track, you'd bring them into line. There'd be hell to pay, but you'd bring them into line.
Yeah, no, totally agree. One other thing as well that I noticed Saturday, prize money at Doncaster. Towsers had a moan.
Wouldn't he? I mean, Matt Hancock doesn't come cheap.
No. He won't even give Matt Hancock's donation fee. Because when they've they can claim that back, can't they? But when you pay with the VAT off, the 10,800 Israel one off a mark of 99. There's not 10 for Matt, is there?
No. That's no good. You know, if you've got a couple of filthy politicians to grace up in Westminster, you need some decent prize money.
Yeah, it's no good for prize pull that for Towser. So Towser was furious, and rightfully so. Though, again, an ARP track. This is where we're at. You know, they literally are paying the minimum, and I don't know why.
Again, this goes back to something else. So, if the BHA cut up a bit chalky with ARC and started saying we're cutting your fixtures and all the rest of it, and they were still putting them on, would the likes of Towser support the BHA and decline to have runners there, or would they go on to the BHA and say, well, I was going to have runners there next week, what are you doing, you cheeky bastards?
It does need a kind of uprising from trainers and everyone really in racing, because the tracks are only making money because trainers support them. Remember, there was a trainers' strike at Newbury that time, and I think trainers need to do more themselves and literally take control, because if you start support tracks that are putting poor prize money on, you soon make them change. That's the only way you make them change.
The BHA could put out next year an approved fixture list, right?
Mm-hmm.
What they approve in association with the National Trainers Federation, right? So the fixtures that they want to trim, they leave off. No discussion, no debate, no consensus. Them fixtures are out or moved. You know, like when you got Super Saturday, we'd have Super Sunday as well, with one of those York or Newmarket on the Sunday, right? So that approved list then is the only list where trainers would have runners if they're supporting the BHA and the move to trim the fixture list and make it viable with prize money and that. Then the racecourses basically can put these extra fixtures on if they want. No fuckers turning up.
That's interesting. I've never thought of it like that. I mean, but yeah, I mean, if we were heads of the BHA, that's what you do.
Yeah, you get the trainers on side and you tell them, look, we need drastic cuts in the fixture list. I don't know, we're losing 500 meetings, right, over the course of a year. We'll put our pro fixture list out. You agree to only have runners at those fixtures. That knocks the tracks into shape because they can put all the fixtures on they want, and if nobody's there, it doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah, I think that's it. We need less self-interest in terms of, right, well, you know, well, I'm doing.
It's only the tracks then that's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
You get the trainers on the side, battens are the greater good. So, I mean, at least Harrington doesn't have to sully herself having a row with the trainers. She's only going to have a bit of a row with the tracks. It'd make it a bit easier for her. I mean, if I was in her seat, I'd just have a row with every fucker, you know that, but that's the way to do it, you know. That you've got some consensus then. You know, the trainers know you're acting in everybody's interest, trying to take the game forward.
Yeah.
And the tracks know if you're trying to get a bit cute, nobody's going to be there.
That's a cracking idea, John. That is a cracking idea. That's. But again, it just requires everyone to come on board, and
it just requires a bit of common sense. I mean, it's not difficult. Trainers have acted before in that fashion over prize money. There's no reason on earth why they shouldn't act like that again. in a more organised manner with the approval of the VHA.
Yeah, spot on. We'll finish the show on a light-hearted note. I did a poll on best sort of theme, best sporting theme tune. So John, I put up 4. I could have put up more because everyone's like moaning that Ski Sunday wasn't on there.
World of Sport.
World of Sport.
Yeah.
Right. I know I could have put ITV boxing, BBC boxing, quite iconic tunes. I could have put midweek sports special, sports night, but no, it was those two, and it was BBC Racing, the classical music one, 1993, or it was the Channel 4 one, the first, not the last one, the original one, and Channel 4 pissed up, John.
I'm not surprised, really. Yeah. I think the boxing ones are probably a bit niche.
Well, we're a racing audience, aren't we? So it's like you're not going to get many. We've probably not. I mean, if you got boxing fanatics, they wouldn't have picked Channel 4, would they? So like it's. But yeah.
Unless do they still have the stable lads boxing? Is that?
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah. But anyway. So good poll. What's your listeners? Let us know on Twitter. What's your there's a thread on the polls. Just tell us your favourite sporting theme tunes of the past. There's some good ones. I don't think they produce many good ones these days.
I think it's gone right downhill. I mean, they've even tweeted about with the BBC snooker one, which I thought was absolutely criminal. Yeah. I mean, Formula One. The is it called the race? I think. Yeah.
You know, that was brilliant.
You just knew that was Formula One going on.
Absolutely, yeah. Some geniuses, some jingles geniuses of the past. Where are the jingles geniuses? They've all been dumbed down and told they're no good, and they're all on TikTok. Anyway, that's all from us this week. We're back on Friday as always, and we've got Sergeant Wilson, Augustus Gloop coming soon, so don't miss that. Lots happening in the podcast world. Eleanor Jumps to follow. We're going to produce one. Catherine Fry is going to be on. So Fry fanboys and students of Cheltenham will be all lubed up and tuning in for that.
Lubed up, Alex, yeah. We'll do like a competition or something on that one where you can win a Gloucester FC thong or something, won't you?
Yeah, or and a Lido t-shirt, something like Fry's Lido.
Sack Lido t-shirt, yeah.
Yeah, put Fry's face on front, Yeah. She's changed her profile picture. It's a lovely picture, actually. There's no wonder these students are all over Fry. Anyway, right. That's definitely all from us. Bye for now.